Meanwhile, we will soon learn the results of Donald Trump's most recent physical. At least according to the campaign, the GOP nominee discussed his health on the set of the Dr. Oz show yesterday. And in the interview that will air in its entirety later today, Trump at one point asked the audience if he should share the results that he brought with him to the set.
If your health is as strong as it seems from your review of systems, why not share your medical records? Why not?
Well, I have really no problem in doing it. I have it right here. I mean, should I do it? I don't care. Should I do it? It's two letters. One is the report, and the other is from Lenox Hill Hospital.
May I see them?
Saying, yeah, sure.
So these are the report.
Those were all the tests that were just done last week.
And Major Garrett is there in Canton, Ohio, for us this morning, just outside the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He is, he's really our Phillip Rivers here at CBSN, and we do appreciate his time. Major, we will finally see Dr. Oz show. It'll air later today, taped yesterday, of course. So what medical details can we expect to learn about Donald Trump?
First of all, Josh, I like to consider myself the Dan Fouts of CBSN, but, you know, I'll take Phillip Rivers.
Fair.
Anyway, we don't know exactly what we're going to hear from Donald Trump. There have been some audience members who were at the taping for Dr. Oz yesterday, went out on social media. We have various reports of Donald Trump's weight, 236, 263. Either way, at 6'3", overweight, possibly technically clinically obese. Trump talked about campaign weight gain. I have some vague familiarity with that phenomenon. And Trump says he wants to lose about 10 to 15 pounds, something I also have some understanding of. And we don't know much else about that. He, in the taping, hands Dr. Oz a piece of paper that has, we are led to believe, some details about his recent physical completed last week by his own personal physician. But the campaign hasn't released that. The campaign says only that it intends to release more data on Trump's medical history by the end of this week. Maybe it will occur after the Dr. Oz show actually airs in syndication across the country today. We just don't know. What we do know is if you compare and contrast the data put out by Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton has put out more information, but of course her medical issues have been far, far more visible recently than Trump. Trump hasn't had any medical issues to speak of during this campaign. And here in Canton last night, he kind of got off the high road just a wee bit and kind of said, hey, do you think Hillary Clinton could do what I'm doing up here? Hot room, talk to you for an hour? Probably not. But then later he bounced back to that high road and said, look, she's getting better. We want her on the campaign trail. We want her to do well. We want to see her back out and well. So that's where Trump is rhetorically. As far as the underlying specifics, we'll have to wait for Dr. Oz show first, and then the campaign to fulfill what it says is a promise to the public to tell it more about Trump's own medical background.
It has been an orchestration perhaps completely befitting the campaign run here. With all the talk then about medical histories of both candidates, we should mention Donald Trump will be giving what is said to be a major policy speech at the Economic Club of New York later this morning. What to expect from that, particularly when it comes to his tax plan?
Well, what we're told by Donald Trump to expect is details on not just the tax cuts, tax reform he is looking for, but infrastructure spending and defense spending and how he's going to pay for all of it. Now, one thing I know we're going to hear, because Trump has mentioned this already, is that there will be so-called dynamic scoring. Now, this is a bit in the weeds of Washington phraseology, but it's important when you look at whether or not an economic plan will generate deficits, economic growth, a little bit of both, or too much of one and not enough of the other. Dynamic scoring is a way by which you estimate the value of tax cuts in relationship to stimulating economic growth. Most accountants in Washington, and certainly the Congressional Budget Office, which under law is the one whose numbers rule, doesn't do dynamic scoring. They say if you take tax revenue down, that's a net loss, and it doesn't know how to measure the economic gains to be achieved through those tax cuts. There's a dynamic scoring method that does. Trump's going to use that. And the budget hawks in this debate for generations, if you will, have said dynamic scoring overestimates economic growth and obscures the deficit implications of tax cuts. And when you add more defense spending, something that Trump is committed to, more infrastructure spending, something that Trump is committed to, you may be looking at a scenario where there's lots of spending, lots of tax cuts, and quite possibly larger deficits than we have already. All those details to emerge of the speech at the New York Economic Club, and then the budget analysts will have a field day measuring Trump's rhetoric against what they perceive to be economic reality.
And quickly, Major, for a candidate who certainly thrives really on the sheer size of his crowds and the dynamism that he feels from them when he appears before them live, this is expected to be something of a skeptical audience he will appear before today. What impact could that have?
I don't think it'll have much. I will tell you, in the last month, I think Trump has really found a different groove. He no longer is the sort of improvisational jazz musician up there just saying whatever comes across his mind and riffing in one direction, then going back in another, and literally bouncing back from ideas, topics, policy in a scattershot sort of way. He's now much more disciplined. The teleprompters are with him wherever he goes, and he has found a way to deal with the teleprompters, stay largely on message, and drive it in a way that he believes has worked for him in the polls and is working for him as a candidate. So even though this audience will probably be restrained, not a lot of fervor, not a lot of applause, not a lot of standing ovations, I think Trump will probably be fine in the overall presentation because he's reached a different place of understanding how to present himself as a candidate in different venues and to different audiences.
Major Garrett there in Canton. Major, if you want to be our Dan Fouts, that's fine. However, I think you are missing one very important thing. We will expect a full beard by tomorrow morning.
Yes, I'll be working on it.
All right. Thank you for the time, as ever, my friend.